Well, it happened again. Facebook Marketplace got me. Welcome back to the channel, everyone. You're watching Centerline Designs. My name's Cole, and this is the new to me Swinger 3000. Yeah. So I've been working on making a deal on this wheel loader for a few weeks. It has a few issues, but I just couldn't help myself. This thing is a 1998 Swinger 3000. Haven't heard of it? Yeah. Neither have I or anyone else I've talked to, but there was a few things about this machine that made me really interested, and I've been in the market for a skid steer for a while, but I think this is gonna just work out that much better. So if you've been following my channel for a little while, you will have seen quite a while back I mentioned a house lift series coming. The original plan was that was supposed to be this year, but for some personal reasons, it didn't happen. That's okay. We've kind of continued on with a little bit of prep in the background. We have 300 5-foot 6x6 timbers ready to lift this house up, and we're gonna dig in a walkout basement. A couple of years back, I helped lift my sister's house. It was about 52 feet long. We took it up 13 feet in the air, put a whole second floor underneath of it. It was a really cool thing, and we plan on doing the same thing to ours. So, because I can talk myself into anything, in preparation for this, I knew there was a few things we were still missing, and that was a heavy enough piece of equipment to manage to get the beams under the house, something to fork all these timbers around, unload building materials when they show up, help lift the walls for the addition we're putting on, set the roof, just take care of all the dirt work. There's so many aspects of this project that I really knew I needed something heavier to help handle the work, and I'm not really one to go and rent things. I'd rather just buy it, invest the money, and then I have it for after the fact. So we went ahead and Facebook Marketplace got me again, because as soon as I saw this machine, I just knew I was gonna have it. And it was a little touch and go. There are some problems with it. So let's go ahead, let's do a walk around of this machine, show you why I bought it, the future videos to come in repairing it, because it has some major problems, but it's gonna be okay. And let's get this thing cleaned up and see where we go. I think it's nearly raining outside, and you can hear my pup Taco crunching around. We just had a pretty good rain, and now we got this crunchy, crispy layer. But anyways, back to the wheel loader. So as I mentioned, this is a 1998 articulating wheel loader. It's a Swinger 3000. The parent company is NMC-Wollard. And from my research, you really can't find much about them anymore making these wheel loaders. This was, I believe, the biggest one they made. They made them for quite a few years. This is probably one of the fancier ones. It has almost all the features. You know, heated cab, 4-wheel drive, hydrostatic. It's got a John Deere Power Tech Guy diesel something. I guess I should really pull up the actual specs on this. So going from their spec sheet, that is one of the few things you can actually find on this. It's rated to lift, you know, around 3,000 pounds, and going by some people I've chatted with on the Facebook group, it can lift substantially more than rated. The breakout force is supposed to be close to 9,000 pounds. You know, this machine, although it's not overly large, is definitely not a toy. I've graduated out of toy territory, I think. One of the first things I noticed about this, I saw the ad on Facebook, and right away, it's probably hard to tell right now, but it looked really clean. I mean, just clean. It's a 98, so it's like 26 years old, but almost no rust. I mean, there's a little bit of dirt, but come on, it's to be expected. Not that I'm any kind of expert on equipment, but I'm always looking at the back ends and the sides, because you're trying to see, like, how much did they abuse it? Did they not care and just bang it into things? But this looks super clean. Like, you know, some scratches from rubbing against things, but no major dents. I mean, everything still works. Here's the hood here. As I mentioned, it has a John Deere, I believe it's rated at 80 horse, Power Tech 4-cylinder, naturally aspirated diesel. Sounds really, really good. We'll start it up here and let you listen to it in a minute. It's covered in quite a bit of grime and stuff, and one of the first things I love doing is just learning the equipment, and part of that is cleaning it. We're gonna go through, pressure wash this thing. You know, I understand it's winter time right now, but it's actually above freezing, and I plan on tapping into the hot water spigot for our washing machine. So we'll pressure wash this with some hot water. We'll get it really nice and clean. But just look at this, like the frame, this thing is stout. This is 1 inch thick steel. That's the main frame, 1 inch. The front fenders, 3/4 inch. I mean, again, 1 inch. It's a serious machine. Some big cylinders. The chrome is really nice. I think this thing lived its life inside, to be honest. One of the problems is the front tires. Well, actually 3 of the tires have the sidewalls just absolutely shredded. This machine came out of farm country, and the first time I went to go buy it, basically, I had the bank draft in hand. We agreed on a price as long as it checked out. I showed up to test it out. There was no snow on the ground or anything yet. Started up great, motor sounds good. I started doing a few things and my heart sank because it wasn't a ready to work machine. I wasn't really happy with what I saw. One of those things were these tires. They are just shredded. I think this thing, being that it lived in farm country, was probably used to clean out a barn. It has a bucket that's definitely oversized for it and was, you know, farmer cobbled together, put on a quick attach, because this does have a standard skid steer manual quick attach with auxiliary hydraulics to it, with its own throttle as well. Heated cab, as I mentioned, like, it's got features, and those were the things that really drew me to it. It's not overly old. I guess I haven't mentioned it's got 3,600 hours, which, you know, if maintenance was done, isn't that much. You know, it's obviously getting into the amount of hours that there is just other maintenance that's going to have to be done, which I'm not worried about. We, you know, us in the shop here, we're pretty capable of solving problems and coming up with anything. Which, let's go inside for a second. So if you're new to the channel, this is the main project we have. It's an all aluminum turbo diesel hydrostatic drive snowcat. We're currently in the process of track building. It runs, but not drivable yet. So there's a whole playlist with this build. If you haven't seen it, go ahead, check it out. The feedback on it has been amazing. So thank you to everyone who has been following the build, because I'm 2 years into this project, and to be honest, some days it's hard to want to keep going on it. I am going to finish it. I'm too far down the rabbit hole now, but the feedback and the comments and lots of people helping me out with some of the problems I'm having is awesome. It's really cool. And talking with people around the world. Like, I'm this guy in the middle of Canada doing something with a GoPro in his hand, and I literally have people commenting from around the world. That is not lost on me. It's pretty cool. So go ahead, check out the playlist. Let me know what you think. I think it's either raining out here or all the trees are warming up and they're dripping, because it's just loud with water droplets hitting all that ice. So I covered the why. You know, why. I like to invest in my own equipment. I mean, it's just kind of cool stuff and I do like it. We have a lot of work coming up with our house lift that should be happening next summer. I think it's gonna be a really neat series. We're lifting that up. There's gonna be a ton of work done there, and it'll take us out of the garage a little bit, but it should be pretty entertaining. So with all the work and the fact that I'd rather just sort of buy equipment, invest in it. If I wanna sell it after I'm done the job, great, but it's ultimately gonna be money saved, and it sort of just completes a bit of a childhood dream, as my wife says with everything I do. So what made me walk away from this the first time? I wound up having to work on them for a couple of weeks, and we negotiated a better deal because the tires, although they do hold air, and that's what they said, and it does. I haven't had to pump up any tires. So really, do I need to change tires immediately? No. We kind of can play it by ear and see when they fail. Now, I know those probably aren't cheap, so again, I wasn't going to pay the agreed upon price. So the big issues though, well, immediately in the ad, I saw that this door is zip tied closed. So clearly that door has a bit of a problem. You know, it's had some welding done on it. This door doesn't really shut. It's kind of bent. Things that aren't really that big a deal to me, honestly. I mean, just an enclosed cab with some heat is pretty nice. The rest of the stuff inside, I mean, pretty minor. I honestly wasn't concerned about that. Can't believe it still has any of this stuff. A little bit of rust down in here, but this was an optional cab. You know, that's just a piece of steel, not real worried. Does have the heater controls up on the roof there. So there I was, drove 3.5 hours, checked this thing out, had a bank draft in hand, and if you know me, I get pretty excited, and once I'm committed to an idea, there is probably no way anyone is talking me out of it, or, you know, it's just gonna happen. I was committed to buying. Now, I jumped in this thing, started it up, diesel sound great. I was really, you know, excited to hear that. And then I pushed down on the bucket, and that's exactly when my heart just sank. This whole front end, the entire front assembly moved, I don't know, an inch and a half back towards the cab. And if you're not familiar with wheel loaders, that is not supposed to happen. They articulate in the center. No wheels actually turn. It just pivots half the machine with 2 hydraulic cylinders down below. And there's these upper and lower pivot bearings. And clearly they were just absolutely toasted. Like, there's so much slop. We'll fire this up. I'll show you exactly what I mean. That it's not usable. Like, honestly, with having that much play, if you really tried to work this thing, you're probably just gonna snap that pin in half, and you literally, the machine is gonna go into 2 pieces. Now, I wound up getting this, I think, for a pretty good price, but with that being said, I wasn't really in the market for a project. Obviously, I have enough projects, right? I mean, it just happens. I don't seem to be happy unless I'm overwhelmed with the amount of things I have on the go. So, didn't really want a project. I was impressed with myself because I actually just told them, you know, I'm interested, but I'm walking away. It's not what I expected. It's really not what I wanted in the sense of a project. It's the exact machine I wanted because it's ridiculously capable. Actually, for my needs, I think it's better than a skid steer. The world seemed to have just sort of went skid steer route, and these smaller wheel loaders, it's, I believe, you know, book weight is 9,750 per pound. So it's basically a 10,000 pound wheel loader. And it's probably gonna do what I need better than a skid steer, not to mention to find a skid steer in this equivalent condition, you're over 2 times the price of what I paid for this. And I wouldn't be able to move that. The licensing where we are, these weigh so much, I can't trailer it around. I'm not licensed for it, so a skid steer, you're probably not gonna be driving it. Although this, with a high range, I can drive it to my parents' place, my brother-in-law's place, a buddy's place. It's not really a big deal. So there was an advantage there, and there's other advantages as well. Not gonna chew up our yard the same way a skid steer does, and it's gonna be better visibility, and I plan on building a nice big snow blade, and there's a lot of things to come. With my heart sinking, I walked away, and as I was proud of myself to do that because that's not something I usually do, but it wasn't what I expected, so I needed time to think. So after some research, it's maybe possible to get parts for these swingers. The parent company is around, but they don't, you know, advertise anything to do with these. The reason I still wanted to go for it was this company built the machine with brand name off the shelf parts. Like we have that John Deere PowerTech motor. It has Dana 80 axles underneath of it, 11,000 pound rated axles. Extremely common. I mean, does have one axle seal leaking as well. This far side axle seal, you know, you could see after it sits for a while, leaves an oil slick on the tire. But those parts are so easy to get. An axle seal is like 50 bucks. Now, my concern was these bearings. You're not gonna be able to buy those, I don't think. I don't even know if I'll try, but after we pressure wash it, we'll get a better idea here. The bearing is in a housing plate that then is bolted to the front half of the machine. In a lot bigger loaders, that bearing gets pressed right into an integral part. So if it's so far gone that it's destroyed the actual housing, you're into line boring, line welding, and a lot of work with equipment I don't have. And for a machine like this, to put the money into that fix, you would have to get it really cheap, otherwise it just is never gonna make sense. But the more I paid attention, this part comes out, which basically means now we get to take that off the machine, we can chuck it in the lathe, we'll get that bearing out. Regardless if I can buy that bearing from Swinger or not, I'll be able to find it online or through a bearing company like Canada Bearing. And if I have to go with a completely different one that has slightly different measurements, I can machine that housing in the lathe. We can chuck it up. That is definitely something capable. That is definitely something we are capable of doing here. And that fix just went from being very costly and time consuming to not all that difficult, and actually some fun content for the channel. So that was my huge issue. This machine looked like it was going to snap into two pieces. We'll take a look here right away, but I think that's fixable without special equipment. And as soon as I realized that, I was very interested again. So a bit of back and forth, got a couple of $1,000 off the price that we originally agreed on, and that's perfect. We made the deal. Went and got it like 2 days later, had it shipped home. I do believe there are some other plays and linkages. I checked out a lot of the front boom assembly, and it was pretty good. I mean, 3,600 hours, there's gonna be some wear. As long as it's not damaging the actual bores of the cylinder or brackets, we're fine. We can, if we can't buy bushings for this, we can make them. And all of it wasn't too bad, except sort of your main pivot down here on the quick attach. It's pretty much shot, which is okay. It looks good enough to be able to put a new bearing in. If it's not, I can probably cut the sleeves out. We'll machine up some new sleeves, line them together, and just weld, you know, a new piece of steel on the actual boom assembly. It's probably too small to do any kind of line welding or boring anyways, but it's usable. You know, that isn't a big deal. That's not a showstopper. The machine snapping in half is. As I mentioned, there's your auxiliary hydraulics. I think it's 25 gallons a minute. Like, look at this, is I mean, that's a big cylinder, and the chrome is just flawless. Cylinders don't leak. There is not a cylinder that has a leak on it. I think the steering cylinders have some wear on their eye ends as well, and in here, but from what I can tell, it's not terrible. And also the hydraulics on this unit, they're Eaton hydraulics, which is another brand name. The pump looks really good. It had some battery terminal issues as soon as I got it home, of course, but I need to get it off the trailer, so I went ahead, just kind of scabbed that stuff together. There is an electrical draw on the machine still, so we're gonna have to put in a battery master. That'll be in a future video. Okay, we just climbed up there. Yeah, I was having some battery issues, as I say. It's not clamped down very well. I didn't want the seat to short out on the battery, so I got my leather welding jacket in there. But I know it's dirty, so this is gonna sound funny, but it looks pretty clean. I mean, there is a little bit of a wiring mess, which we'll have to sort out. but it's just dirt. It's dust. It's grime of decades of driving around. There's no major oil leaks. Okay, let's put the seat back down. All right, well, this is a little bit of a different filming style for me. Here's what the cab looks like. We have the throttle, hand throttle right here. We have a parking brake, which I do know doesn't work. It's all there, but clearly it's either out of adjustment or it's got some oil on it or something. Oh yeah, it's just leaking there. A little water coming in the cab, to be expected. It has high-low range, so that's really cool. Here is what the dash looks like. We've got our key. This is our auxiliary hydraulics. We can flow one way, flow the other way, and then you can lock it one way or lock it the other way. So when we build a nice big pivoting or angle snowplow for this, we don't need any valving or electronics. We just hook up our two hydraulic quick connects and we push flow one way or we push flow the other, and then you use single acting like Myers plow cylinders, which will just work out pretty good. Not that I need another thing to plow snow with. I already have 3 or 4, but I don't know. It's fun. You can never have enough. And some days you just want to use something different. As I mentioned, it's got a heated cab. I'm impressed. The headliner is actually still pretty good. Not too bad. Ooh, dusty. But here we go. This needs a little bit of work. It's got some lights. I'm trying to figure out what they all are. The front light bar actually does work. I seen a rear light work too. This is our blower. It's not on the ignition, so you got to remember to turn that off. And this actually is a heat selector. It doesn't really select defrost or snowflake, but if you play with this knob, you can get heat or it can get really cold. So something's kind of working back there, and the blower is just on and off. So one of the things we're going to need to do in a future video is take this faceplate off, find out what this is doing actually, if it's throttling the coolant flow or whatnot, and then put a little speed drive on that blower, because it's a little much at times, so we can at least adjust it pretty easily. But with that being said, that's no complaints. It's got heat and it's pretty warm. Now we got this self-leveling feature here, which is going to be really nice and handy. Father-in-law's got a set of forks for this that apparently I'm going to be getting. So that is going to be really handy, because obviously with all the material I want to move around for the house lift, forks is definitely a must. This dog loves snowbanks. Loves them. I'm working in the shop during the day, and he will spend hours doing this. I actually have to come back out with the loader and pile up snow again, and then he just tears into it. Yeah, anyway. Our volt gauge here does work. However, it's never at the level it should be, which is leading me to believe that we have a draw and actually the alternator is shot, because it does drop voltage as it's running for a little while with the blower on and lights and stuff. So I have a battery tender on the unit right now with a block heater plugged in. It doesn't have any glow, so the block heater is definitely a must. Our water temp gauge never moves. And as said, there's a little over 3,600 hours. So I think I've dragged that out long enough. Let's get the key in here and fire it up. Yep. That runs beautifully. So that was plugged in because when I got home with it, it was cranking so slow. I believe the battery was dead. It was like minus 20 Celsius, and yeah, that block heater works really good though. Gets that block really nice and warm, so with no glow, we definitely need that up here in the north. And with the battery tender on it too, keeping it fully charged, I can come out here minus 15, and that's exactly how it fires up. let's go ahead and show you what those main pivots look like, because it's a little brutal. Well, I hope that showed up well, because it's pretty gnarly in there. But before we go ahead and pull those out, which we'll do in another video, I'll do a little repair, go over some things. I want to get this thing sprayed down. Let's get a lot of this dusty grime off. The machine is already so clean, but before we go working on a bunch of things, I think we can get it so much cleaner. So I got to shuffle a few things around. Let's get this down and make it shine a little bit more. Well, I have the pressure washer set up. She's tapped into the hot water off our washing machine, so at least this is going to be warm. And I do feel a little crazy. It's snow on the ground and pressure washing, but let's call it dedicated. It's also not the first time either. Happened to do the exact same thing with my excavator. All right, well, we're going to pressure wash some of the snow and grime off, and then go ahead and get some degreasers on there and let it all sit and get it all cleaned up. So satisfying. Oh my goodness, it's better than I expected. This thing looks brand new. I sure hope this is gonna come through on camera, but there is gonna be a little bit of an unexpected surprise here. The transformation is more than I thought. I knew it was gonna be maybe okay under all that grime, but I think this thing is gonna look damn near brand new. Okay, we got some foamy engine degreaser. Let's go ahead and try and degrease some of this stuff now. Oh, I guess I didn't spray this side. Oh yeah. Oh, right up in there. Oh yeah. Get everything. Okay, I think I am done. I'm out of hot water, which obviously means I'm not having a shower. But I gotta go clean all this up now. And we'll get back out here and start it up, take it for a little drive. Yeah, go over it, because the transformation was pretty awesome. Wasn't expecting that. with myself all nicely cleaned up, let's take a little look, because I actually learned some things while pressure washing it. Oh man, that cleaned up so well. And it wasn't even like big nasty globules of grease. It was just like oily dirt. You can actually see what's going on, and those are indeed a big spherical bearing. This one, however, look at, there's been some farm repair to this. It's all cracked. They added in a plate. Oh, they welded that down. Okay, there's been a little bit of work here, but that's okay. Even if we got to rebuild all of this, we can do that. Might wind up cutting this off and just making a whole new bracket. We'll see. So we'll take a closer look at where all the play is, because there's honestly so much stuff I couldn't see, but we'll take a look in there. These came out really nice. Everything cleaned up so well. I am amazed. And this engine compartment, holy. Look at the hydraulic tank. This was black, eh? It just cleaned right up. I mean, I didn't even do a perfect job, but. The motor's gray. You can actually see it. Oh, it looks so good. That might clean up a little more. I mean, it's not perfect, but I can see all the fittings. It cleaned off the starter. Really wasn't worried about the alternator. I don't think it's working anyways. Just fantastic. I mean, oh, it looks brand new. I mean, not brand new, but you know what I mean. Even sprayed the cab. This just has a forward reverse pedal, and it moves the swash plate on the piston pumps, or on the piston pump. It's not plural, it's just singular. It's just singular in this case. Sprayed the inside. This is an optional cab, so they kind of made these as just canopy models as well. I mean, look at that. Cleaned right up. You can see the color of the pump. Oh, it looks good. All the fittings. There's the fuel filter. Oh, it looks awesome. I mean, it's not perfect. If I actually put some elbow grease, I could have gotten even better, but this is good enough. All right, well, one of the things I learned is there's actually a fuel gauge. I didn't know that. It was so covered in grime. I did not know we had a fuel gauge. So that's handy. Yeah, it came out so clean. I mean, it even has the boom safety blocks as well, which I'm not going under here, but it has it all. This was completely black. That cleaned right up. There you have it. The old Swinger 3000. Boy, sounds made up. I couldn't even make that name up if I tried. Let's fire it up, take a look at these bearings, and see if we can get a better idea where all that play is. Okay, let's see how bad that top one is. Grease and we're good to go. No, seriously, it might snap on me. Let's go for a little ride. All right, well, I sure made a mess. Let's go ahead and clean up all this greasy junk before my wife gets home. I got that thing stuck off camera down here. I scraping the grass here, and it's right at that temperature that turns to almost instant ice. And yeah, we got stuck on those mostly worn tires. I think once it's a little colder out, it'll probably be okay. Maybe I'll throw some chains on the front end or something for the winter. But good old articulation. I just give her some wiggles and straightened out the clothesline and managed not to hit the deck, which was good. But we got ourselves out of there. Hey Carter B, how you doing?
Good.
All right. Well, there is our Swinger 3000. I am pleasantly surprised with how well that cleaned up. It looks very gently used, other than some, you know, critical worn out parts, but that's all right. In future videos, so I think in future videos here, we're gonna get this thing into the shop. Now I measured it and it is exactly the same height as my door opening. So we might be airing down these tires to get it in there. But we're gonna get it in there. We'll support both halves of the machine, and then we're gonna go ahead and try and get those plates out that hold the bearings and everything like that. See what information we can find. I do have a feeling we're gonna wind up making that stuff from scratch with parts that are available now, which is okay. It should make for some pretty good videos. And yeah, I'm really excited. This was a absolute diamond in the rough, I think. It transformed really well. We got to go through other things, like the parking brake doesn't work, so we'll address that. What else? I'm sure there's going to be a whole other host of issues. I want to clean up a lot of the wiring. Like I say, there's a dross. We're going to put a battery master in. We're going to clean up the inside. Put in a motor control on the fan for the cab. And just really give it all mechanically a once over, and probably change the oils. I'd like to change the oils. We'll check the hydraulic fluid, see what it looks like. I may not change all the fluid, but we'll definitely spin on a new filter. And yeah, we'll go from there. Address that axle seal, the front axle seal that's leaking, and investigate a little further into the rest of the pins and bushings, and really just determine what can continue to be used and what is like critical to get replaced. But for a whopping 15,000 Canadian, I think I stole this thing now. I am really happy with what I paid and what we got. This isn't a toy machine, although it's not all that big, but I think it was built better than they intended. So alrighty, well, thanks for watching so much in this video. A little bit different content, not in the shop fabricating, but this was just too cool of a machine to not show you guys. And yeah, stay tuned, because we're gonna get back working on the cat. Tracks are still coming along. It's just very monotonous, so I'm taking my time. And then we'll get to working on this, get some repairs, and that house lift series coming next year, hopefully. I said that this year, but should be pretty entertaining. We'll see all of our equipment in use. And yeah, thanks so much. We'll see you in the next one.